It's impressive speaking in front of so many people. I didn't know I was supposed to speak. The story of New Mayapur. So when I arrived in Paris in 74, Bolini was already there. And we were too many. Le Sieur, the one who were in Le Sieur, no, it was very, very tight. And they were renting apartments for the Guyas outside. But as soon as I arrived, Bhagavan told me that the plan was to buy a big property outside of Paris to have a community. Even show me a photo of what Prabhupada visited next to Vichy. They were planning on something, and then it didn't work because I didn't want to stay in Paris because of Satya. Satya was always sick. And so yeah, it was full. Rue Le Sieur was the brahmachari was sleeping in the prashana moon, and there was so many devotees. It was crazy. So they finally found New Mayapur, and we start to move in. I think it's around May, April, May, June of 75. The first bunch start to come, like with Amekala and some other to clean, car down everywhere, the kitchen downstairs. And after, everyone moved here with the spiritual sky truck. And which had no window, and they moved everyone. By Krishna's mercy, I was pregnant of Krishna Kata, and what's her name? Krishna Mamini, she just had Gauravani. Gauravani was newborn, and I was pregnant, so we were the only one allowed to travel by train. The other one were all packed in the spiritual sky van with no window to move here, all the Kriyasta, all the other one. So we arrived actually the last one, me and Krishna Mamini, from all the Kriyasta from our apartment. And I was just in Montreal and I saw Shamati, and she told me she remembered very well the day she arrived, because when she put Raghunath on the ground from the truck, he started to run and laugh. And she said it was the first time he was laughing, because he was not very happy in Paris. You know, where in Paris we had a big apartment, but each family had a room. Each family had a room, and we had no furniture, so we all shared the bathroom and the kitchen, and it was tight. I mean, it was fun. I made great friends there. I remember fondly those apartments. But here it was a lot of space. And so when we arrived then in 75, it's in the spring of 75. You know, at that time we never wrote dates, so it's like that. You know. I just know I was like 4 months pregnant, something like that, from Krishna Kata. At first, the families stay on the second floor, and because there was no deities, then the family could stay together, men and women, and the children, I mean, each in one of those little rooms on the second floor, where you have the men now upstairs. And that room was a a ballroom at the origin, but in the time of the Commandant Perret, from which we bought that place, it was the billard room. And I don't know what happened to the billard. And here, in that little round room, was a bar, you know, because it was just men. It was the Commandant Perret had made this place had been for people after the war, you know, and after there was no more people from Indochine War, so after it was people coming out of prison like that. We called them les fantômes du commandant, the ghost of the commandant, that was their name. And when we moved here, they stayed in what became after Chanticourt. They stayed there, they were staying, and they still work at the factory. And they were, yeah, and actually the Commandant Perret, he stayed with us for a whole year. He stayed in those rooms upstairs, which became, after we fixed them for Prabhupada. But until his house was fixed in Chanticourt, he stayed upstairs. And in the little room which is under the stairs, which is now the girls' kitchen, that was his kitchen, and he was not vegetarian. And he was sharing the bathroom with us. There was just one bathroom where is actually not a girl's shower, but it was a real bath. It was very fancy. You had to climb in. And in the time of the Commandant Perret, then he had a lot of men in here. So in the cave there was the shower and the toilet that we still use until, I don't know, a few years ago. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, we still use them, and the men always took shower there, and they used to call that place Samsara. They had walked there. I never walked there because it was the men's shower. Just now that it's, you're not, I mean, they're not in use anymore. I've gone to see. But they said it was really hard because it was just cold shower, and you go like that, and it just, all the water just fell on your head. Yeah, it was just, it was austere. And yeah, so at first we moved here, and we had to, they planned it was going to be the temple room. So they start to work on that room from the beginning, actually. And we use this room there for temple room. But there was just a painting of the Panchatattva on one of the chapel. Now we have a chapel, and in the chapel there was all the bench. I don't know what happened to the bench, but it's 50 years later. But one of the bench was the altar, and there was the Panchatattva photo. And yeah, they start to work on that room right from the beginning. That we just used it when Prabhupada came for one day. Then actually Prabhupada sat here. There is photos. What they did was really funny because we just moved here. And Prabhupada stopped between Iran and England, I think, just like for 24 hours. So what they did is Prabhupada went to Paris, he saw the deities like that, and I don't know, maybe he ate there. And so after, they put the Visesa of Paris in a van, and they drove the Visesa, and the one who were driving Prabhupada, there was no cell phone. I don't know, but anyway, we worked it out at that time without cell phone. That the Vyasa arrived here before Prabhupada arrived because we had no Vyasa. It's why there is photos. I send them. I don't know who's in charge of collecting. There is 2 photos of Prabhupada on Paris Vyasa, the blue and orange here. We're sitting here. And I remember it was Brahmananda who was his servant there. When he came for a few hours, he came. Because I sat there somewhere. I was behind him, I couldn't see anything. Because he was so tall and big, Brahmananda. And then when Prabhupada came, he said, so now he's Tulasi in that room. At that time it was Bhagavan office. Because what they did is that first floor was for the press. Press was very important always in France. Even in Rue Le Sueur, they had the whole floor for the press. So here when we arrived, where is now the Brahmacharini ashram was for the press. Especially the big room who gives on that side, they make big tables. I know because my first husband was translator. and some they were staying there. And that room, the room where is Tulasi now, was Bhagavan office, and Prabhupada slept there. He slept for one night here. And all the devotees went in that room. I was praying and then Krishna Katha, and everyone was jumping. And I was scared. I was thinking, we're going to break the floor. You know, when you have so many devotees dancing and jumping in a room. I mean, Prabhupada was there, but I was a little scared. I was scared. I was thinking, we're going to go through the floor. So when we arrived, it was to be autosuffisant, self-sufficient community. And our first president was Vishwambar, because Vishwambar was coming from a farmer family and he knew about farming and everything. His office was, where do you want to do the office now? The little round room. Which goes with the stairs from outside, that was his room. And where is the bibliothèque? That was the first office, I remember, the first office, and then Vishwambar office was in the little room. And Vishwambar was very busy because he knew about the ground and he was on the tractor, he was very efficient. And they wanted that we were self-sufficient. So at first the rule was, I think I've already told that story, but the rule was that everyone on the community, mother, pujari, translator, everyone had to do 1 hour in the garden a day. That was the rule. And so it worked because it was, what's his name? A tall English devotee was in charge of the garden. Haribolananda, yeah, that's it. Not Jyotishananda, Haribolananda was in charge of the garden. So he was supposed to engage everyone, and everyone had to go 1 hour. And then, of course, with the time going, I think the one who stopped first were the press. Yeah, the press said that. Well, I have a bit something against the press. Huh? My husband was in the press. They drove me crazy for many years. But so the press, the Brahmana, they said, our service is too important. We are doing the books. We cannot spend time in the garden because the books is the most important. I mean, it's true at that time. Every Bhagavatam class, every class was about distributing books. And so they said, oh, our service is too important. So they stopped. And then the pujaris, when they heard the press stop, they say, well, our service is very important. And then they stopped. And then gradually, there was just 2 or 3 persons in the garden. it's difficult to have a self-sufficient community. I've been witness with all the good willing of everyone and all the plan. There have always been very few people in the garden. Devotees are not really inclined to gardening. It's just you don't have the result quickly, you know. And it was not, even though Vision Bar was preaching a lot about it, it was not like put in first things, because always l'importance was the books, distributing the books, saving the society, like that. It was the main stream in that time. And also there was the war. We were told there was going to be the Third World War, and so there was that also in the background of our life. And so they had to distribute a lot of books before that happened, and try to figure out something for when it will happen for us who will stay. And actually, I don't know if it's still upstairs in the office, but for many, many years we had the plan that, what's his name? The husband of Kishori, what's his name? Sorabi. He made a plan for here with a new temple, and then there was underground things to go to the temple, and the old temple could go down if something happened, because they were always speaking about the war in the 70s. Yeah, it's true, because Prabhupada said there was going to be a Third World War soon, so it was a big topic. And so he had made a plan, and the old altar could go down. And the plan was still upstairs. I don't know if it's still upstairs now. There was a big plan for that. Yeah, I remember even once I said, oh, I don't know, what? People who know me, they know I'm into babies. So I wanted another one, and I said again, yeah, but how are we going to do? Because how are we going to wash the diaper if we live underground? Because they were saying we are going to live underground and everything, so we had to become very tolerant with each other. That was a good thing. Everyone was told you have to become very tolerant because you don't know what's going to happen. And if you have to live underground altogether. Anyway, at the beginning in New Mayapur it was like that. Then we started to have some cows. And and when Prabhupada came, yeah, it was funny. We had one cow and she was mooing and mooing and mooing, and devotees, they didn't know. They say, oh, she's like that all the time. And Prabhupada say, yeah, she needs a bull. Prabhupada was very down to earth. It's what she needs. And Jayakul, he was French, but he joined in New Caledonia. And he inherited the farm of his father in Britannia. And because of that, he had a government loan for new farm. So he used all the credit the government gave him for his new farm for here. So he was buying a little calf.
Hare Krishna.
So what I do?
Go ahead.
So he was buying new calf with the government money, and each time he come back from Sankirtan, he brought those little calves here. And also with that loan he had from the government, he bought 800 bulbs of narcissus, which were put in a field there, downstairs. Yeah. Remember? We had a whole field of them. Yeah, for years. We still have some coming up. And yeah, he helped a lot like that. He helped the farm side. No, I don't know. It's really hard to speak in French. And we had just little kids at that time. We had a bunch. When I joined in Paris, they were just like, I don't know, 6 or 7 little kids. And I was doing the kindergarten. But then we moved here, and what happened? It's really hard for me. What happened is the Gurukul in Dallas stopped Krishna's mercy for those kids. And Bhagavan's son was there, and Draupadi Devadatta's son was there, Dhruvananda, and I don't remember. I think they were the two oldest kids of the French Empire. They were there. Anyway, then they came back. Vaishnav came back. I'd never seen him. And he came back, he was like 6, something like that, 6 or 7, and Dhruvananda. And then some of the kids came, and then they started a Gurukul here, and it was Aradhya. Aradhya became the teacher. Aradhya became the teacher, and first, the first class was behind. There is the back room behind the altar, but then there is another room now where we have the jury and everything. And that was the first classroom of Aradhya, where she teach in English to write to the kids. And I was still doing the kindergarten. By that time, Krishna Kata was born. And I was doing the kindergarten over there somewhere where I lived. And Aradhya started to do the school. Then more kids came because we had a school. And in ISKCON it has always been a problem. People want a place where their children can be raised. And it became one of the big program here. And it was Jyotimai. Like when Prabhupada came the next year, 76, she was in charge of the Gurukul. And by then we had 2 ashram of boys and 2 ashram of girls. Shalagram had the little boys. Another one that I don't want to say his name was had the big boys. And the girls, it was Jesta became ashram teacher, and the girls really liked it. She was really good. And the wife of Haribolananda, what was her name? Called Garudi. Yeah, she was really, really good also. What was hard in Gurukul actually, it's my point of view, is children were separate from the parents, then they become attached to the teacher if they are a good teacher. And the problem is the teacher were too young. And then they wanted to be married and everything, and then they let the kids, so one more time the kids were let down. Actually, what I heard in the Vedic societies, you're supposed to be vanaprastha if you have an ashram, so it's all gone, that things of getting married, like that. Because we had some really good ashram teachers, but they left. And it was hard for the kids when they left. And then we had a big Gurukul. The Gurukul grew more and more, and we wanted actually, like I was French speaking, we wanted the kids to learn French also, but there was no French teacher by then. And Krishna's Mercy, Madhvacharya joined. And around the same time came from America Bhagavat and his wife, who had joined in
New Caledonia.
Yeah, they joined in New Caledonia, but then they went to America. Yeah. And in America, then they told them, go to France. and they were both teachers, so they became teacher for the French kids. So we had we had English school and French school, yeah, both school. And then Pitavas, I don't remember why Dottie married. I think because she went to America with her husband, then she stopped being the headmaster, and you became the headmaster.
I started to take the boys ashram.
The boys ashram.
Before that. And then Mother Aradia, she actually joined many devotees in Canada. She left America because they had the Vietnam War. She didn't agree with the politics. She went to Canada and then she went to France. She saw the devotees chanting in Paris, so she joined in Rue Le Sueur in Paris. And she was a teacher.
Yeah, she was a teacher.
Her mother was a teacher. Her grandmother was a teacher. So this is how she was a very good musician. She started playing piano 3 hours a day at the age of 5.
Oh.
That's why after she worked with computers, and she was very, very fast working on the books like that. So eventually, she took the girls' ashram, not the boys' ashram.
Yeah.
It was like 78. Anyway, and then we moved to a room upstairs. But then it was too short. Then we moved to the first house.
Yeah, the first house, yeah, was the first ashram.
On the ground floor and then on the top floor. And then I started to buy these buildings from the government, these
Gurukul
buildings, and then we started the school there.
Mm.
And then Madhvacharya made the school legal. And eventually, when you were saying Mahabharata came.
Yeah, and he teach in French. And in the same time, the press became bigger. The press was big. And at the beginning, we didn't have the deities. But Prabhupada gave instruction of having Gonitai. And then after he said Krishna Balaram, and I was not there, but apparently he said later on maybe Radha and Krishna. Because from beginning he wanted Radha and Krishna Narottam asked. But Prabhupada said no, we were too fallen. he said we should have Gonitai. And after he said Krishna Balaram. So then they were installed 6 months after we moved here. Gonitai were installed. And then it changed a lot of things to have deities like that regular. And the 2 altars were built. There was just 2 altars built. There was no Sringasam. And that came later on in 79 with Radha Govinda Madhava. The Sringasam, the altar in the middle and everything. But first there was just Gonitai, and there were doors. It was Manibunda. Manibunda was working wood. Comment ça se dit? Carpenter. Yeah. And then he did that room, the altar, who looks like the rest of the temple, with doors. There was doors and a pillar in the middle at first. And
I'd like to add a small anecdote about Mother Aradia. At that time, 50 years ago, the pavement around was very muddy. Years after years, when adding gravel and there were a lot of ruts all the time. And in 10 years' time, we have probably 3 years of nice sun, 3 years of drought, and 3 and 4 years of rain. So when Srila Prabhupada came, it was very, very, very muddy. There were ruts everywhere, and Srila Prabhupada had to walk from the castle toward the garden. And Mother Aradia was in charge of Prabhupada's shoes. And it was very hard for us to keep it, because Prabhupada was not a slow walking worker. He was working very fast. So we had to jump here around to keep the pace with Srila Prabhupada jumping, and we're all muddy and everything. And when Srila Prabhupada came back, Aradhya took Srila Prabhupada's shoes, they were spotless. There was no mud. You can speculate what you want. But there was no, oh, we were all covered with mud. And Srila Prabhupada's shoes were spotless. She told me this person now.
Yeah.
She was my wife. This is what she told me. She passed away in America some 20 years ago. There's nice stories. But anyway, this is a very nice anecdote about Srila Prabhupada's shoes being spotless and we were all covered with mud. Hare Krishna.
Yes, the one who have memories. Of course, me, I have memories. At that time, I was teacher. I mean, the kindergarten teacher. For the 2-3 first years I was here, I started in Paris and after here. And so I was under the Gurukul department. And we all, when we got deities, when Prabhupada came for 24 hours, the first time in 75, and they decided we were going to have Gomita and Krishna Balaram, then it was decided that everyone who could be initiated, Brahmana, had to be initiated. And so a whole bunch of us went to Paris because, I don't know, I think because of the plan of Prabhupada was leaving early, so we all had to go to Paris. And the initiation was in Paris. And even if you didn't want it, you got it. And you got it with the instruction that you will have to do deity worship because there was going to be deities. And everyone had to take care. Where is Mati? They told me she's here somewhere. Mataji was our first at Puchari.
Malati.
No, Mataji.
She's in the residential. I texted her this morning.
I texted her, she didn't answer.
Saying,
But is she staying in the guest house?
Yes.
Oh yeah? Because she was my first head pujari here. In Paris it was Sitaram Narottam, but Mataji was the first head pujari here. And then she trained us all. She was very heavy. But we all had to learn. Even if we had babies, we were pregnant, everything, everyone had to learn how to do arti. Everyone had to learn everything. I remember I had to learn to do 4 o'clock arti. Even if I had another service, I was kindergarten teacher, and then I have a baby, and I had Satya also. Everyone had to learn, because everyone had to... They wanted everyone to do puja, yeah. So it's why we got the initiation. You just had to get the initiation and you had to do it. You had to do puja. And then Krishna Balaram were installed 6 months later, the summer of 76, when Srila Prabhupada came. It was a big festival then. I don't know. They say we're supposed to have a slideshow. Maybe in the slideshow, then we will see. It was in 76, and then Krishna Balaram were installed, and there was the big initiation under that tree. There, 50 people got initiated then. It was so. After all that. We had many presidents, and sometimes no president. We had all kind of politics, very bad sometimes. And France is revolutionnaire. There was all the things with Pritu Putra. you were there, we knew, and so it was our period also here. But there was, like, it was always, the book distribution was in phases, and one thing I remember when I was young here, and Kata was still really young, one year, that whole room there, that old one, was full of books, from the ground to the floor.
To the ceiling.
To the ceiling, yeah, from the floor to the ceiling. They came with trucks and they fill up the room there, and then eventually they distribute all the books because they disappear. It was really, it was the devotees were, there was a lot of Sankirtan devotees, and they were distributing a lot of books that time.
Unending flow of nectar.
Unending flow of nectar.
There's a lot of other devotees who have to speak.
Yeah, but everyone can speak. It's not the problem. I stop. I let the people to speak. I let everyone speak.
Hare Krishna.